Well, Xolani, government's 200 billion rand bank guarantee scheme has been extended for yet another 3 months. However, some have called for it to be changed into a grant. The extension doesn't really address some of the fundamental issues about why it hasn't been accessed, at least to the extent that it has been needed in the country.
Good evening, Kathy. You're absolutely right. This has been, far from the success that it was anticipated it would be. And those calls to actually come in and actually change this particular scheme into a grant would actually be giving free money. And as we know, the 18 billion rands that has been doled out to businesses that are in trouble has actually all come from banks, nothing from the National Treasury or the Reserve Bank or the government side. So there has been this calls, but the Banking Association says they are not going to be in support of changing this particular program into a program where they actually take part, as risky as it may be, take part in a scheme that is going to give money free of charge to actually businesses and turn it into a grant. They are saying they would only be willing to actually play a participant when it's actually ditching out that cash and actually distributing it. We spoke to the MD of BASA, Bongiwe Gunene, and this is what she had to say.
If you are changing the scheme, you have to take into consideration that what actually exists now is not free money. And also, it's not money as, I don't know, it's not like a stokvel or any other kind of money. The banks were given access to this money on condition that they are going to on lend, and there was negotiations on the interest rates. So all of that to make the scheme easy for the entrepreneurs. They still did not apply. So to move to another type of scheme, you have to close this one. Because what exists right now is not excess money, instead is a credit enhancement facility.
Well, Xolani, National Treasury also agrees with the Banking Association that there simply is no appetite for businesses to take up more loans.
Yes, we spoke to the DD Chief for Tax at the National Treasury, Ishmael Momoniat, and he says that there was never any need to actually make up, that 200 billion rand, a bank guarantee scheme. And they are saying the fiscus does not have the money. And even if, this has been extended for another 3 months, nothing is going to change in the qualification criteria. This is what he had to say.
And then the reality is that the actual demand is lower. And look, this is not out of line with, it's in line with what the president is saying, in a sense that the president's saying, can the financial sector be more innovative and find ways of helping? And, we are trying other mechanisms. So we haven't said, we're talking to various players if there's any gaps, any ways to help, mindful of the fact that fiscally we are challenged. But there may be other ways to support. We're looking at whether, non-banks, your development finance institutions, we've asked NEDLAC partners to provide proposals if they think there's other mechanisms to help.
Well, Xolani, data that measures the health of the mining sector in South Africa increased by 0.8% year-on-year in February. This is 2021. Has this surprised the markets at all?
Absolutely, Kathleen. This is a huge surprise. We're expecting a contraction of 3.8% in the mining sector year-on-year for the month of February. But to some, it came as a huge surprise that there is this 0.8% increase in mining output. Chantal Marx explains why the market is actually surprised.
Mining production staged a surprise recovery in February. The market was actually expecting another year-on-year contraction, but what we actually saw was year-on-year growth as well as month-on-month growth from the mining sector. The improvement was driven by iron ore, which rebounded quite strongly on a year-on-year basis. I think if we look back towards February 2020, there may have been disruptions in that space that wasn't necessarily factored into the consensus numbers. We think that mining production will probably continue to be quite strong. The reason for this is that inventories were drawn down during the lockdown period where production was under severe pressure. We also see that commodity prices are quite strong, which is also an incentive for miners to continue producing and to produce strongly at that.
After another tough trading day, let's look at how the JSE performed today. That's it from Business at Prime this evening. Back to you, Kathy.